All right, I think you're good.
All right, it's 7 o'clock. We're going to call this meeting to order at Smithville Village Council. Roll call.
Allen,
Here.
Haas,
Here.
Heicher,
Here.
Mullins. Reed.
All right, I think you're good.
All right, it's 7 o'clock. We're going to call this meeting to order at Smithville Village Council.
Beverly, I'm sorry. This is Thorne. I'm here. I know we had some feedback.
Okay. In looking at our agenda, obviously you received copy of the minutes prior to this meeting. If you had the opportunity to review those, I'd entertain a motion and a second to approve the minutes as presented.
Motion to approve the minutes for September 1st. Is that right?
Correct.
I'm sorry.
Did you get it, Bev?
My connection is really bad tonight.
Okay, I make a motion to approve the minutes from September 1st.
Thank you.
Thorne will second, please.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have a motion and second to approve minutes as presented. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Allen,
Abstain.
Haas,
Yes.
Heicher,
Yes.
Mullins,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Looking at the agenda, I don't think there's any visitors present. So we're going to turn it over to the chief for his report. I think he has at least one item of business for us.
Thank you, Mayor. I actually have a couple,
as well. So chief.
yes, I actually have a couple of items, everything personnel related. I believe you all at the last meeting approved the resignation of one of our officers. He has since left the department. Excuse me. I found out just about an hour ago that we may be losing another officer. That's kind of tentative at this point, but the good news in this is I do have the part-time individual that I was looking at a couple of months ago. We put his hiring process on hold as a result of the officer who most recently resigned coming back to work unexpectedly. So at this point, this officer candidate has successfully completed everything in our employment pre-screening process. He is still interested in the part-time position, and I have drafted a letter of recognition for your consideration with regard to that gentleman. If anyone has any questions, I'll try to answer those. If not, I would submit this letter for a vote for council to bring him aboard as a part-time officer.
Anyone have questions? Okay, then I make a motion to bring to the village police department Rico Ontiveros. I hope that's right. Suggested by Chief Funk. And when would he be starting, Chief?
Probably next Monday.
Okay, so as it says, appointment on September 21st, 2020.
Is that next Monday?
Yes,
Okay.
you have Monday, September 21st, 2020 in the letter. And again, it would be for part-time position and again with the standard probationary period.
That's correct.
And do we have a second?
I'll second that. Hawes.
Okay. We have motion and second to appoint Officer Candidate Rico Ontiveros to the part-time position in the police department. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Haas,
Yes.
Heicher,
Yes.
Mullins,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
All right. Thank you, everyone. And Chief?
You're welcome.
Your other items?
That was the main thing, that, and just to make everyone aware that we may be losing another officer.
Okay.
Seems
And
like
you should,
every time that I think we're digging ourselves out of this staffing hole, it seems to get a little bit deeper. So again, this is something I just learned about, and I'll be hopefully getting more information in the next day or so.
okay. And again, we do have obviously your monthly police report for the month of August. Each of you should have received that, I believe. And then the only thing that maybe I would ask in relationship to is, have we heard anything in relationship to the property on North Summit Street from the prosecutor's office?
I contacted them, I believe, the week before last, and I mentioned that to you, I think, last week.
Correct.
At that time, the case was still being reviewed. As of today, I've still not heard anything back from the prosecutor's office.
Okay. And I don't know if we've mentioned to council as well, the fact that you obviously did receive the new cruiser, and I understand it's being outfitted now, correct?
That's correct.
So again, that would be a piece of information. And obviously the oldest vehicle was turned in as trade as well. So you'll soon see the new patrol car obviously on duty. So is there anything else for the chief anyone would have? Okay. There may be, are you going to stick around, Chief?
No, I'm going to have to leave this evening. I've got something else I have to do.
Okay, that's fine. Then why don't we talk about one item, only because it might, obviously, you might have input or thought, is obviously one of the questions that have been posed to the staff here at Village Hall. And again, it's not that we sponsor it, it's not that we organize it, but obviously the question about trick or treat. And again, too, oftentimes we will set a date, especially in conjunction with your department, to make certain that you can staff accordingly in relationship to that trick or treat going on within the village. So, and again, I think I did forward to all of council a letter that received from a resident, obviously hoping that we would have it. And again, it's not something we sponsor, but it's something we set a date for. But I guess at this point, I think what we need to do is, discuss that. And that way the chief has the opportunity to maybe give us his input as far as when he feels what day and what time might work for them as well. Any thoughts?
As far as I read the letter that you sent, Mayor, thank you. As far as that goes, because it's not a village sponsored activity, a lot like the yard sale, it's given the fact that it is an outdoor activity. I live on one of the central blocks in town that has a sidewalk all the way around it, and I wouldn't say that we have so many people that come by that it's a crowd concern. So I think, some of the points that the citizen brought up were good. It's an outdoor activity. It's able to be done, I think, safely and inside the guidance that we've been given from the health department. So I see no reason to cancel it per se. So I guess that's my vote, is that it's not to be, I would not recommend canceling from my perspective right now. Sorry, I misspoke. I don't mean to say cancel it as in we wouldn't cancel it because it's not our event. I meant to say that I'm not against us setting the date and having our law enforcement personnel be available.
I tend to agree with Scott. I think it's up to the families if they want to participate. That's up to them, just like if they want to go to the store. So as far as I'm concerned, it's fine for me if they set a date.
Are there, I guess maybe I'll throw it out, are there any individuals that are strongly feelings or concerns about having it? Because if not, then I think what we need to do is probably just look at the calendar and kind of decide when we think it would make sense to, to set that date.
Mayor, if I could throw something out, please.
Sure.
And as everyone has said, this is not a village-sponsored event. It's just something that we pick a date to make everyone aware of when it's going to be. But in monitoring the governor's press conference today, there was some discussion about trick-or-treat nights coming up next month. And apparently the state is going to be coming out with some sort of guidelines or rules or something. The governor was kind of ambiguous with regard to exactly what those are going to be. But I don't know if everyone in the community is aware of that or aware that there might be some additional requirements or restrictions coming up. But that may be something that as we interact with various people, we try to make them aware that may be coming from the state.
And I think, obviously, if we're going to post on our website, we could obviously, I'm assuming they'll have it published somewhere. We could post a link. That way people get access to that information as well, what's being recommended from the state.
It looks like Halloween is on a Saturday this year.
I guess with that in mind, obviously.
Is that right? I was just saying, it looks like Halloween is on a Saturday this year. And from Chief Funk's perspective, is it better to have it on a weeknight or a weekend as far as your personnel are concerned?
I don't think it's going to make a great deal of difference one way or the other.
Okay.
We have traditionally done it a little earlier, if I recall correctly, Chief.
And we've done it usually in the days prior to actual Halloween.
But
Also, typically it's been not Halloween's not fallen on a Saturday before. If we looked at it for that particular date and scheduled it relatively early in the late afternoon or early evening, that probably would be about as good as any time.
And do you recall, was it like 4 to 6 before?
That sounds correct, because I believe the community center started their party at 6 and it went 6 to 8 or 6 to 9 or something like that.
Okay. So I'm open to suggestions. And we want to say the 31st, Saturday, 4 to 6.
I'm fine with that.
Sounds okay.
Sure.
Well, if there's no objections, then that's what the date we'll set it for is 31st and make the hours like 4 to 6. And like I say, we'll make certain that that's obviously on the website so folks will be aware. And again, too, if there is specific directive put out, we can obviously make certain that's available as well. Some sort of link or connection to it. Okay. All right. We have a lot on the agenda, so I think I'm going to move on. And looking at that, the only thing notes from correspondence Becky put on there was fall large trash pickup day has been set. And that's for Monday, October 26th. And I think that's the only correspondence, unless anyone else has correspondence for us to be shared. If not, moving into old business, the first item on our agenda is the vacant lot mowing ordinance that we have been discussing. And I think our intent would be to place it on first reading tonight. I guess, after having had the documents since our last meeting, I guess, are there thoughts in relationship to modifications or what we may want to do relating to this document?
Go ahead, John.
What would you all like me to say?
Let's get on with it.
I think it's fine the way it stands. I say we do the first reading and let's move forward. Does anyone have any agreements, disagreements?
Agree, John, I agree. Let's move forward. First
Okay.
reading.
Yeah. Yeah, if there's something we need to edit later, then, I mean, frankly, we're coming to near the end of the mowing season anyhow. So I agree. Let's get it on first reading.
I guess
Motion.
Well, also I was waiting for the radio feedback to stop. But again, I guess the one thing is I'll throw back to John. I think the only thing that we had spoke about in the interim was possibility the wording relative to the payment or the charges that might be if we end up doing it. So again, is that something that, maybe we work on between this and the next meeting? I know we had a conversation, I think, just between the two of us when you spoke with me.
Right. I was thinking that we should make it more clear what the penalties would be if a party didn't mow their owned lot or property. And it seemed to me at that point that it was kind of up in the air. $75 per hour. I know that what Jason had wrote in his suggested draft. And for some of the lots, that might be a really good deal for a person who doesn't want to mow their lot to have it done by someone else and let us take care of the secretarial work. There was some talk about there is other penalties built into it, but I don't understand where to find those, how to tell a person where to find those. That's my thought on it.
All right. And again, I think the concern is that John, and obviously you can correct, but the concept would be to make certain our fee reflective of any other costs that we may have, especially if we end up going the route of having to assess it to be able to collect it at some point. And I think the other would be making certain the cost is a disincentive for people to allow us to necessarily just become, in other words, the replacement for what they should normally do. If the cost is, in a range or position that would obviously discourage folks from allowing us or putting us in the position of needing to be the one that was doing it, that might be a better route to make certain that we're in versus it'd be an easy answer for them in relationship to the issue of having it mowed. So, but I guess what we need to do is maybe think a little bit more about that and throw, if we have some thoughts, back to Jason between now and the next meeting. So with that, I will entertain a motion. If everybody's ready to put on first reading, I'll entertain a motion in a second, and it'll be for first reading only.
I'll motion to have the first reading. On
I'll
the
second.
Ordinance.
Sorry, John. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah,
This is
sorry.
Thorne.
Well,
I think I'm having the same internet connectivity, so I'll second. This is Thorne.
Okay. And just for clarification purposes, we do have two ordinances. So this is going to be for the one that is, it says that it's repealing and replacing section 155.1 or 013. And what we will do is then do the same for the other ordinance. So both ordinances independent of each other will be placed on first reading. But again, we have motion and second. Is there any further discussion on this specific ordinance? Hearing none, roll call.
Eicher,
yes.
Mullins,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Haas,
Yes.
Okay. And again, now we do have the ordinances repealing section 93.40 of Smithville Code of Ordinances. And again, I would entertain a motion in a second to place this on first reading.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, a motion is second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Mullins,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Haas,
Yes,
Heicher,
Yes.
All right. And again, what we will do is we will assign numbers to those once we pass them, obviously on final reading. Then moving on into our agenda, there's a couple items relative to the water tower, specific to obviously inspections. And if you recall, at least most of you were here for, we had already approved a contract that basically spelled out the inspections and engineering for the construction portion of the water tower project. And again, at that point in time, it's $125,000. Of course, the period of time that we looked at it, obviously it was early enough in the process that since then, one of the components of that is a contract with Dixon, which is basically a company that will inspect the components of the tower, the steel and the other things that are put together. Two things on that, as you see on the agenda. One of the things that we did not include that they offered to us and BPA did consider, and BPA feels that given the magnitude of the project and some of the issues we've had prior, that it was worth it for us to consider. It's what they call in-shop inspections. My understanding is what they will do is obviously they send inspectors who serve as our quality control to the plant where the steel is actually prepared, and as far as how the surface is prepared and what's done. Again, they do it there. You know, obviously there's quality control within the plant, but in this case, they represent us and obviously are paid by us, so they represent only our interests. So again, it's not uncommon on larger projects of such nature. So I think BPA felt it made sense to go ahead and pay for that. And that was $6,600. The other item that's listed there is additional inspections. And basically the time that we had approved the initial, Dixon obviously quoted us $25,000 for inspections for their services. But again, that was given to us last fall. Again, we did not sign that contract because obviously we were not going to sign a contract till we actually knew for sure. Obviously, again, this is a contract, and whenever they got to the period of time, obviously we understood that it may change, and it did change. The difference was that it went to $29,700. Again, BPA discussed it and obviously felt that it made sense, and it was reasonable in which to increase that. Again, just to give you some background, the total amount for inspections that we included in the project with OPWC was $150,000. So even with these two new additional approvals, we are still within the range or below the range that we'd indicated that the inspection and construction engineering would cost. But again, too, I'm talking with Pam, given the fact that these are additional charges, we did want to, after BPA approved it, I wanted to bring it to council for you folks to prove the additional, obviously, costs relative to the inspection portion of the project. So again, that's what that is. If any of you have questions, I'd be glad to try to answer those for you. And if there aren't any, I guess I would entertain a motion to approve those two amounts. And again, we can do it with one motion. Basically, Beverly, if you indicate those two amounts and the total for that.
Motion to approve the amounts for the inspections for the water tower.
Second.
Okay, we have motion and second. Are there any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Reed,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Haas,
yes,
Heicher,
Yes.
Mullins,
Yes.
All right, thank you. Is there any other old business that anyone from council wants to bring before us this evening?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask,
Yeah.
this is my first time through this year. What's the status of the capital improvement proposals that were submitted to the Finance Committee in early August? How does that proceed at this point?
So I'm going to be working on them, actually last year we didn't approve the capital improvement plan until November. My hope is that I'll have it to you guys by October.
Okay, great. Appreciate it. Thanks. Thanks, Pam.
Okay, we're going to move into new business, and each of you should have received an email to you today, the August 2020 financial report. Again, it shows each of our funds. It shows our estimated revenues, our year-to-date revenues. Again, it shows appropriations, and then the actual year-to-date expenditures, and shows then obviously how we are in relationship to our plan. Again, that's something that's given to you monthly, and it is something that we do need to approve by council each month. I don't know if there's any specific questions on that. You're welcome to ask those, and I or Pam can attempt to answer those. Probably Pam better than I. So are there any questions on the monthly financial report for August? If not, I guess I would entertain a motion to approve the August financial report.
Motion to approve the August financial report.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve August 2020 financial report. Are there any questions or discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Thorne,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Haas,
Yes?
Heicher,
Yes.
Mullins,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Okay, the next item then on our agenda is, as you recall, for a water tower project, we had 3 contracts that we bid. The 2 that we had prior, obviously approved and have awarded were for the water main replacement, obviously going to the new tower, and also the tower itself. The 1 contract was contract C, which we had not approved yet, subject to CT reviewing obviously the work of the contractor that we're considering awarding that bid to. But that would be for obviously the demolition and restoration of the lot of the old tower. Again, the bids, there were 2 bidders for that project. They were relatively close to each other. The one bid was for $93,500. The other was $97,840. Obviously, we are awarding the contract a low bid. CT has given us a letter indicating their performance and review has passed their inspection, and they're comfortable with us going ahead and awarding that contract. So we do have that on the agenda tonight. Again, the probable or the estimated cost for that was $100,000. So we are under that by about $6,500. So again, within the standpoint of what our expectations were, again, too, that contract fell under the amount that we had estimated. Again, if there's any questions concerning it. If not, then I would ask for a motion and a second to approve contract C. And it's going to be a resolution. And what we will need to do is suspend rules if we can. So I'd entertain a motion to suspend.
Motion to suspend, Thorne.
Second, Hawes.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to suspend rules. Any discussion on the suspension? Hearing none, roll call.
Allen,
Yes.
Haas,
Yes?
Heicher,
Yes.
Mullins,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
All right. Then again, I would entertain a motion on resolution 2020-
21.
Okay, so it'll be 2020-21. It's a resolution accepting the lowest and best bid and authorizing the mayor and fiscal officer acting for on behalf of Smithville, Ohio, to enter into an agreement with Crow Supply Inc. as the lowest and best bidder to provide the necessary labor and materials for the completion of the West Main Street Water Tower Project, existing tower demolition contract C, and declaring an emergency. I would entertain a motion.
A motion to accept the resolution for Water Tower Project Contract C Resolution 2020-21.
Second.
Okay, we have motion and second. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, roll call.
Haas,
Yes?
Heicher,
Yes.
Mullins,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Allen,
yes,
All right. The next item on our agenda is a delinquent income tax repayment resolution. Again, obviously, if individuals have filed but have not made payment on, the amount due to the village for their income tax, for us to extend any kind of payment plan, we cannot do it without having a resolution in place. So we did ask Jason to draft something. In talking with Becky and internally, we decided to offer 6 months repayment on any income taxes. Again, too, I think Jason did forward to you the proposal or resolution that we're considering. Again, just in a nutshell, it will allow them to make their payments in 6 equal monthly payments to us. There will be an administrative fee added $5 per month for us to administer for them to be able to use that payment plan. And then also the other item that's on there, if in fact they obviously fail to make the payments according to the plan as they agree upon, there would be also an additional $20 assessment, again, for obviously failing to meet the requirements of the plan which they agreed to. And again, once this is in place, we will make certain we have an internal document that will be developed that will allow obviously the person to sign and to agree that, to that payment plan. But this legislation will allow us and give us the authority in which to establish that. So are there any specific questions on that ordinance? And again, if not, I guess I would entertain a motion in a second.
Motion to approve the ordinance for the purposes of establishing a plan for collecting delinquent tax funds.
Second.
I'm sorry, did I mix that up or mess that up?
You're okay.
Okay, thank you.
And do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, John, thank you. So again, it's resolution 2020-22. And again, it's a resolution establishing a repayment plan for delinquent income taxes and declaring an emergency. Any questions or discussion on that resolution? Oh, you know what I should have done? I need to do to suspend rules again, didn't I?
the rules.
Yeah, I'm sorry. If we could, I would prefer us to suspend rules.
Motion to suspend.
second,
All right, motion and a second to suspend rules. Any discussion on the suspension? Hearing none, roll call.
Mullins,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Allen,
yes,
Haas,
Yes?
Heicher,
Yes.
And again, I apologize for that. But again, going back then to resolution 2020-22, it's a resolution establishing a repayment plan for delinquent income taxes and declaring an emergency. And I think if I recall, we had a motion from,
Yeah, Thorne.
okay,
Mhm.
and John
Motion.
second. Okay. Any discussion on the resolution? Hearing none, roll call.
Eicher,
Yes.
Mullins,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Allen,
yes,
Haas,
yes,
All right, thank you. The next item on the agenda is kind of for informational, but it will be probably at our next meeting. Agri-Sludge obviously is the operator that operates our water treatment plant and our sewer treatment plant, both under contract. If you recall, when we renewed the contract, one of the indicators to us from Agri-Sludge was that the operator that worked here 40 hours a week had indicated desire to retire 1st of January. One of the things that Agri-Sludge threw out to us was the fact that originally when we signed the initial contract, there was sufficient work from a maintenance standpoint with a lot of issues that we had at the sewer plant. He really feels as though we've got on top of most of the major maintenance issues. He was comfortable with allowing us, or offering to us that basically a lowering of the number of hours, thus lowering the amount that we're paying under our contract. And again, what they're proposing is that we would have a 20-hour operator, would be the same operator, but he would come back to the company Agri-Sludge and work on a part-time basis. And again, too, what they were offering us was obviously a reduction of $1,800 per month for obviously 20-hour reduction in work. They did indicate that there would be no additional charges for any other work that we need other than emergency work, meaning if there's a breakdown or something that happens in off hours. And again, it's something that is already covered under our initial contract. But at this point in time, BPA did have a meeting and they did feel as though that they felt that it made sense to go that direction. So I think the recommendation will be coming. They did ask Agri-Sludge, since they prepared the last contract, to prepare an addendum that then we would have Jason review on our behalf to make certain that we're comfortable with the language as how it would adapt the payments as it relates to the number of hours that we have. The other thing BPA was also going to raise with them was if in fact that we saw that the need existed for additional hours, that we would have the latitude or the ability to go back and to be able to obviously go back to the original agreement. Because they did offer, if we wanted the full 40 hours, they would find another operator that would work the opposite 20 hours. And again, what that operator will probably be doing if they go to 20 hours, they work Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, which means then they will be here at the beginning of the week and also at the end of the week prior to the weekend to make certain as far as the things that they need to do. But again, I thought I would share that with you because that will be something you'll be seeing probably in our next meeting. They're just waiting for actual language for Jason to be able to approve, for them to act upon, to bring us council as well. I think that's the only other thing that we did add that you don't have before us, but it's somewhat of it's really just a housekeeping type item that we do. And again, too, it's a resolution that obviously we have to do for the county auditor every year. It's a resolution that we're accepting amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor. This is a document that allows them to actually collect the taxes on behalf of the village of Smithville. Again, it was something that was mailed to us and it does need to be turned in prior to our next meeting. So I was going to ask for approval of that. And again, since it's a resolution, I was trying to determine, should we, probably to be safe, let's suspend rules.
Motion to suspend.
Second, Thorne.
Okay, a motion and a second to suspend
second,
rules.
pause.
We have a motion and a second to suspend rules. Any discussion on the suspension? Hearing none, roll call.
Thorne,
Yes.
Allen,
yes,
Haas,
Yes,
Heicher,
Yes.
Mullins,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes. All right, I would entertain a motion and a second on the resolution itself.
This would be 23. Is that where we're at, Bev?
2020-23.
Okay, motion to approve the Agri-Sludge contract resolution 2020-23.
Actually, that's not what we're doing.
Is that the wrong title?
Yeah, actually, this is accepting the rates, accepting amounts and rates from the Budget Commission, authorizing necessary tax levies.
Oh, well, I'm seeing hours and rates on the agri-sludge and I was confused. Okay, what you said.
All right. So resolution accepting amounts and rates is determined by the Budget Commission, authorizing necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor. And so we had a motion and a second on the resolution. Any
Second.
discussion?
Do we have a second?
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Allen,
Yes.
Haas,
Yes.
Haichu,
Yes.
Mullins,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
All right, thank you. Is there anything else under new business that needs to be brought before us tonight? If there isn't, then I'm going to move into liaison reports. We'll start with Scott with equipment.
Good evening. I have nothing to report regarding equipment tonight.
Moving on then, fire, Larry.
Couple of quick things. The work on the new tankers progressing. I think they're switching the tank over this week. There were 54 total calls for August. And the fire department has spent $25,600 on COVID-19 related expenses. And that's about it.
Larry, what was that amount?
They're up to 25,600.
All right, thank you.
All right, there's nothing further with the police department. So again, obviously, Joe, you're the Veterans Memorial. And again, I know that I think that I copied you on the email relative to that committee, to the individual that currently is kind of chairing that group. But I think they were talking about a meeting, but I don't know if they've set one yet.
Yeah, next meeting is end of the month on the 29th. So I'm set to be attending that. Dana, the chair, lives on Charles as well. He stopped by last night, so I met him and got a little bit of a rundown. So I should have some more information after the meeting.
All right, thank you, appreciate it. Moving on then, parks and trees, Matt.
A couple quick things. A few dead blue spruce trees were taken down behind the smaller baseball field towards the creek by Mike Turner and Adam the past week. They have a quote from Rogue to grind the stumps of those 3 trees and a couple other trees that they had taken down earlier in the year for I think $495. I'm okay with that quote. If Tricia, maybe just get back to Mike and let him know that he's got the green light to go ahead and have him grind those stumps. And then there's a few other trees, and we all know how the emerald ash borer has really hit the ash tree in Ohio and in the region of the country pretty hard over the last several years, many years. We've got a few in the park that are dead or dying that Mike has his eye on to take down either this fall or next spring as well. So we'll be taking some of those as well. And I think a cherry tree up on the cemetery hill. And then tomorrow night we have our park board committee to the last one of this year before it gets too cold to be sitting at the pavilion at night. So that's it.
What time is that meeting?
7 o'clock.
Okay. All right, moving on then, streets and sidewalks, John.
I don't have anything to report tonight.
All right. Moving on then, finance and personnel, Tricia.
I guess I don't really have finance or personnel, but I do have the insurance, TEP insurance emergency response plan is finally finished. I did send it to Pam and Jason. There's a section in there regarding if the employees would have to work at home. So we did have Becky get a quote and look into getting a computer. It would be kept there, I'm assuming kept there at Village Hall, because Tom, you were going to use that, is that correct? Unless they would
Well, I
need.
think there would, well, I think there's opportunities that we probably could use it for other purposes. So I think that even, like you say, sometimes we have a Zoom meeting and someone is going to, wants to come to Village Hall, we wouldn't have a laptop in which them to participate, even if they were in another room. So I think there's some reasons that we could use that otherwise too, beyond obviously if an employee obviously needs to work from home. So.
Okay. And she did find a computer in the amount of $668.29. And she does have to schedule an appointment with Brian to get that set up and get the VPN set up and everything for Bev and her to at least be able to use that at home, if that were the case. Everything else is kind of done. We're going to let Brian read through the computer portion also. I know Pam has okayed it. Jason's looked at it, just to make sure there's nothing in there that shouldn't be or doesn't make sense, because I'm not familiar with a lot of that stuff. And once he's good with that, I think we'll go ahead and send it to all of you so you can look at it. There'll be signs attached to that we found for, like washing hands that we would post, which we pretty much have some pretty good signs around anyway, but CDC has a lot, and just the basics for emergency. We're doing everything right now, but this way we would have it on paper, and it would cover us through the insurance company to make sure we're doing what's required. Is there anything else with that, Tom?
I'd like just to add to that computer, the purchase order was actually already put in, and we're using CARES Act money for that.
Thank you. And that was a Dell
And
laptop.
again, this is something that came out of obviously pandemic. Obviously, insurance company PEP, our insurer, came up with the concept and wanted us to put into place an infectious disease policy response plan. So again, it's something that even though we did a lot of these things, it's something that spells out what we would do in the future and how we'd handle the situation. So again, I appreciate Trish has put a lot of effort into it, because it was pretty voluminous what they gave us. And she worked through it to the things that applied to us here at the village specifically, eliminated a lot of things that really just did not apply and didn't make a lot of sense, tried to make it user friendly, and something that, would be applicable to the village's purposes. So again, I appreciate that. And hopefully then we can finally finish that as well. I think that's the only thing that we have. The only thing that I would add for mayor's report, again, as you see on the bottom of our agenda, a groundbreaking will be Thursday out at the barn property at 10 a.m. We have received obviously acknowledgement, both the Bargain Hunter and the Daily Record will be here, as well as some of the other countywide, and even some of the actually, Representative Gonzalez has indicated that someone from his office will be here. So again, it will be an opportunity for some other individuals, elected officials, to come to the village for us to share what we're doing. Again, part of the purpose behind this is to be able to communicate our project, the purpose, and why we're doing it and the benefits to the village. Again, I would encourage any of you, if you're available, you can come. And again, too, it won't be long. I did ask Al Snyder, obviously the former mayor, given the number of years of commitment that he has made to the village and this project specifically, to be a part of that, along with obviously some of the contractors as well as myself. Again, the only other things would be from BPA that you may want to be aware that they're working on. Ohio Drilling was to have been in yesterday, but they did not come. One of the employees that would have been coming, the wife had a baby over the weekend, and for some reason he preferred to be home with the baby and his wife. So, and then one of the other employees ended up being testing positive for COVID. So we just decided maybe it was just as well that they didn't show up yesterday, but they are intending on coming in soon. What they're going to be doing is working on 2 of the wells. Obviously, as part of this project, we want to make certain our wells were capable of filling the new water tower and had that capability. They're going to be doing some repairs, obviously cleaning, and then doing some repairs on 2 wells. And then the other 2 wells out of our 4 will be addressed next year. Those wells are not nearly as in great a need, but those will be addressed next year. And again, it will be addressed in a timely fashion that by the time the water tower comes online, we'll have addressed all 4 wells. The other thing that basically the BPA is looking at right now, again, has to do with I&I, infiltration and inflow into the sanitary sewer lines. There's a proposal before them in relationship to basically cleaning and televising all of the sewer lines in the village to establish a priority list relative to lining the sanitary sewers. My understanding, lining them will provide 50 years of additional life expectancy and eliminate a lot of the infiltration through cracks and other issues within the sanitary sewer. The big key behind it is obviously it's a big project, but then once we do that study, it would be foolish to spend the money on a study if we weren't committed over a period of years in which to begin to address the issues of the sanitary sewer. There are a number of questions that were raised. There are some things that we're looking at, even from this perspective of possibly looking for some second opinions relative to the proposal. So again, they're considering those things, but I think at some point down the road, you will be receiving obviously some information and recommendations from BPA. And again, this would be something we'd be looking at for the coming years ahead. The other thing I would say also is that for this year's OPWC project, we are planning on, if you recall, there were 2 sanitary sewer lines that we televise and clean. And those, given that we just cleaned them, it makes sense to go ahead and do the work necessary on those. And again, that's going to be the OPWC submission. So we can ask for possibly grant money as well as possible free or 0% interest loan money. And obviously local share in which do those 2 lines. This other study then would take us obviously through the rest of the sanitary system and be able to allow us to assess and to prioritize where we will get the most return for our dollars as we begin to move forward on addressing that issue. So I did want to share that to you so you'll be aware that coming down the road, that's something we'll be looking at as well. Are there any other items that council needs to bring before us this evening? If not, then I would have, yeah.
Real quick, I don't have any department heads in the meeting here, but just so everyone knows, I'll be sending out an email for evaluations for the department heads to do their annual evaluations on their employees. When we'll be talking about next year's salaries and things like that. So just letting you know that that's coming up too.
Thank you, Trish. If there's nothing else, then I would entertain a motion to pay bills.
Motion to pay the bills in the amount of $44,545.31.
Second.
And we have motion and a second to approve bills. Any discussion or questions on the bills? Hearing none, roll call.
Haas,
Yes.
Eicher,
Yes.
Mullins.
Yes.
She turned her voice off.
I said yes.
Reed.
Yes.
Okay, Reed.
Yes.
Okay. Thorne,
Yes.
Yes.
what's up? And Allen's yes.
All right. I think those are the only things we have. Again, you'll see on the agenda bottom, obviously the water tower, but then also council meeting October 6th. BPA meeting next is October 14th. And then our last October will be 20th. At this point, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All right. We have motion and second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Couple of notes, Trish, there are things that you're going to need to stop in and sign, particularly some of the things we need to be able to send in, if you would.
Sure.
Soon. And then I think possibly, Jason, you're planning on coming in Wednesday, if I recall?
Yes, I told Becky I could stop in tomorrow.
Okay, and we both signed the contracts, me and
Okay.
Pam, but it's subject to your, obviously, I assume that you'll review before you sign, or
Yep.
at least you won't send. But we already affixed our signatures per your approval then. So that
Okay.
way they can be sent out and taken care of. And I think the only other person I'm thinking is maybe Joe. And I don't know if we have paperwork yet for you in relationship to putting you in the payroll system.
Yes, I just got the last bit that I needed, so I'm gonna plan on bringing that by tomorrow.
Okay, and I think that's it that I'm looking for just for housekeeping purposes. So, all right, I appreciate everybody's involvement. And like I say, if you need anything, you know how to get a hold of me.
Okay, thank you. Good night, everybody.
Right.
Bye.
Aye.
Night.